Welcome to UNCAGED. Today we are speaking with Steve Sharp. We're talking to him really about his business. He's a public speaker. He's also a facilitator and an advisor. And as you can see by the banner behind him, he is a culture curator. He's also someone that works with folks on team development, leadership development, employee engagement, psychological safety. We'll be talking about a lot of that type of stuff and really how Steve gets teams going in the right direction here. But before we get there, Steve, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Sure. So a little bit about me personally. I'm married with 4 children. I've got 3 boys aged 15, 13, and 11, and a daughter who is 10, so a very busy household. In terms of career, I spent over 20 years in the retail banking landscape of Australia. So working across both tier 1 banks. So in Australia, we've got the big 4 banks. So I worked for one of those. I also worked for a tier 2 bank, and then the crescendo of my corporate career was with a large credit union where I ran their branch network. So I got the opportunity to lead and manage a team of around 500 to 600 people across 65 branches across the country as well. And then in 2017, I made the leap out of corporate and I ran a small boutique consultancy firm that focused on everything from supporting clients from strategy development through to structure and systems advisory, and then organization-wide leadership and team development programs. And as part of that experience of running that business and shaping it, is I got the opportunity to actually go out and do client work and consult a number of clients across construction, mining, meat processing, a whole bunch of different arenas. And that's really where I figured out what my real passion was, which was doing that type of work. And so just before COVID, I went out by myself. So I think I incorporated my business on the 20th of February, 2020. I had about 6 months worth of work lined up, and a month later I had nothing.
Oh, joy.
which I think is a common story amongst a lot of people. So so it was a tremendous start to my self-employment.
Well, but you've been able to build it. And I got to say, a name like Steve Sharp, I mean, it may be a self-employed brand, but it sounds very much like a brand, So tell me more about the type of work that you're doing. I know that you're starting to move more into that public speaking space, but tell us what keeps you busy.
So what keeps me busy is I specialize in what I call curating or helping clients curate workplace environments, and that incorporates. It's obviously the major driver of the effectiveness of a workplace environment is definitely leadership, and so it spans leadership capability and leadership development, but it also spans team development, well-being at work, developing grit and resilience, not only in individuals, but collectively in teams. And really, from my perspective, I think nowadays, the only thing that organizations or competitors of organizations can't replicate is the people they've got and the workplace environment in which they create for those people who come to work and do great work. And I think, if you look at what we're dealing with, now, but also over the next 5 to 10 years, disruption and innovation is just going to speed up. And so to me, the real battleground for organizations is going to be, how do you attract, motivate and retain great people? And really what's left in your toolkit there is the environment that they wake up to every morning and turn up to.
Yeah, it's such a good statement that you just made there. It is very much about the people and that environment and culture that you are able to create. And certainly, I think that has gone through a bit of a hurricane over the last couple of years with all of this working at home and now everyone trying to figure out how they're going to manage it. When you look
Yeah.
out in the landscape today, I mean, where are we right now?
Well, I think we're in a really exciting time. I think it's interesting because people's view on hybrid work or work from home is so definite,
Hmm.
right? You'll talk to one person. I was with a bunch of business owners yesterday, presenting to them, and a lot of them believe, people have to come into work and learn their role before they get the privilege of working from home. And then last week I was with a bunch of people who were saying how much better life is for them because they have that flexibility. And so there's real definite judgments on either side of this debate, which I think is a great starting point. But I think we have to come together on this and agree. I personally think that hybrid work is the new norm. And I think, with the advancements in technology and our ability to collaborate, not face-to-face, allows us to do that. However, it needs to be managed quite carefully,
Yeah.
because on the flip side of that, collaboration is getting harder and harder. And a lot of business owners and people leaders in organizations believe it's starting to affect outcomes. And so it's not about whether it's everyone in the office or everyone at home. It's how do we now collaborate in this new world effectively?
Yeah. And Steve, I think, the way you were telling me a little bit about the trajectory of your career, it really sounds like you've realized what your passion is. And
Yes.
I love that. Tell me how you got there and really what drives that.
Well, I think like most people, um, living the experience of not so great work environments is what drives me. And I
Mm.
think, I had the privilege of working under many great leaders. I also had the privilege of working under leaders that taught me not what to do. And I think I had some really tough times in my career. I faced into fairly significant stress. I faced into burnout. I faced into that feeling that you wake up every morning and you've got a lump of anxiety in your chest because you've got to go to work and deal with a particular person or deal in a particular environment, where you're living in threat mode. So
Hmm.
your whole body is just full of adrenaline and cortisol. So having lived through those experiences, um, and being conscious about it along the way, I think developed this fire inside of me to go, it doesn't have to be this way. And I think so many people in society struggle with it.
Hmm.
They struggle with the people they deal with. They struggle with the environment. Leaders struggle to motivate people and know how to go about it. And so that's what floats my boat, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I get it. And it's funny when you look back on your career in those moments where you just know in your gut, like, oh, this is not what an environment should be like. This is not what
Yes.
leadership is. And it really kind of sinks in. And kudos to you that you're able to turn that into something that you can share with other folks and help them on their own paths. But I mean, Steve, when you look out over the next 18 months, what are you seeing on the horizon for you and Steve Sharp, speaker, facilitator, and advisor?
Yeah. Sure. So this journey's has been amazing for me, and I think the bulk of the work that I've been doing so far has been consulting and advisory to organisations, running organisation-wide leadership development programs and team development programs, and all of those types of things. Where I'm heading to is I've started my keynote speaking business.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm doing that is I want to get my message out to as many people as quickly as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I sat down at the beginning of this year and thought about, my strategic direction, my vision for this business, that's where I started to delve into the research or research the world of keynote speaking. And so I've been on a bit of a redesign mission at the moment, but certainly for the next 18 months to 3 years, I want to be known for keynote speaking and being able to get up in front of people and change their minds on a few things and inspire them to really look at their workplace environment and start to change the mindsets, the attitudes, and the behaviors.
Yeah, that's great. And certainly something that is needed, and getting out there and spreading that message is absolutely going to be critical. But Steve, I mean, certainly there's going to be a ton of people that not only want you as a speaker, they're going to want some help on leadership and training, et cetera. Where's the best place to reach you to learn more about how they could work with you?
Sure. So I am a LinkedIn junkie. So if you search up Steve Sharp, you will see my ugly mug there. So click on that and follow or connect with me. Or you can find me on my website, which is stevesharp.com.au. Or you can pop me an email on steve@stevesharp.com.au.
Awesome. I mean, Steve, one question I have, as you look out into that leadership landscape right now, what is the big topic that you think leaders are fixated on right now and trying to work through?
Sure. So I think the big topic that's out there at the moment, which I'm not sure they're fixated on.
Maybe they should be, right?
Maybe they should be, yeah. Big topic out there at the moment is this concept of psychological safety, which has kind of grown in stature over the last 5 years. But the research really started on this back in the 70s, and a lady by the name of Amy Edmondson brought it into the modern era in the early 2000s, and she stumbled across it because she was researching the behavior of emergency surgery nurses and discovered that even though an ER nurse would see a surgeon doing something wrong on someone who is dying, they wouldn't speak up. And so in my research around psych safety, we talk a lot about employee engagement. Most medium to large size organizations measure employee engagement, whether it's through one of the biggest companies of the world that do it is a company by the name of Gallup, or they do employee net promoter score. The fundamental problem at the moment with measuring engagement is you're not measuring the right thing. Psychological safety is in fact the root cause of whether we humans decide to engage in something or not. So it's actually the step before. And so when you think about that, there's two ways you can think about it. A lot of people think about it mainly around employee well-being, so mental health and those types of things, because just like if you put someone in a physically unsafe environment for long enough, they'll either get injured, they won't turn up, or they'll leave the organization. If you put someone in a psychologically unsafe environment for long enough, they'll get injured, they won't turn up, they'll leave. However, yes, it's the root cause of that part of it, but it's also the root cause of commercial performance.
Yeah.
You will not have a high-performing team or a high-performing work environment if people don't have a sense of psychological safety the majority of the time consistently.
I love the topic. I also love the explanation, and I can imagine almost like a business school case study going through situations where people make perhaps the wrong decisions or don't communicate because of perhaps being in a unsafe psychological environment.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so part of my mission that I've written down is, how do I educate as many people leaders, whether they're business owners or in organizations, how do I educate them or inspire them to educate themselves around psychological safety, and not shy away from it, because it will be the root cause of environments that create psychological injuries and your performance and commercial performance.
Steve, I think I can't wait to see you out on the speakers tour soon, sharing that message and telling us how we handle these types of topics. And again, thank you again for being on the Uncaged show today. We've been speaking with Steve Sharp. He is at Steve Sharp speaker, facilitator, advisor. He is himself, and he is really doing some interesting work. I'd say helping companies develop their team, develop leadership skills, think about how a team and a company can build a culture that wins and a culture that is promising and supportive of everyone. And then also wrestling with this issue of psychological safety. Huge topic, something that resonates with really, I'd say, everyone around the globe as they try to create essentially the next type of working environment that will allow businesses to grow and prosper. So, Steve, thank you so much for being on Uncaged today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers.